Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, you know, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great. Just not cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer-mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
Hey, welcome everybody. It's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation. I'm Radical Russ Belville. Glad to have you here. Glad to be back from Dallas, Fort Worth. But I'll tell you what, I could have stayed. There's a few points there where Jody Emery and I are sitting together saying, are we really in Texas? This can't really be Texas, can it? If you were there, you'll know what we were talking about. Some history was made, let's just say that. And if you're watching on our webcam, you are looking right now at my newest bit of ink. I went and got tattooed. It's a funny story. I've been thinking about this tattoo for about 4 or 5 months now. And the idea was that I was going to get this tattoo on my back of the United States as an outline map, and then put pot leaves in every city where I do an event. Right? So we put the first 2 pot leaves right there in Dallas and Fort Worth, right there in Texas. And so we got this done. This tattoo artist is Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo. And I've got video of this being done, by the way. I'm going to get that cut up and we'll show a little later. But Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo in North Fort Worth, Texas did this. They were sponsors of DFW NORML's conference and big sponsors of DFW NORML. So I got to talking to the tattoo artist about what I wanted to have done. And he said, well, dude, come on in, let's do it. So here it is. Now, there's still a couple of things to touch up. We're going to have to fix, right? And one of my listeners noticed that Wisconsin has a problem. We don't have that little peninsula there off of Lake Superior where Green Bay is. God knows we got to have Green Bay on my back. So we will get that fixed for sure. Also, when we originally did it, there was no dividing line between Arkansas and Louisiana. We got that fixed. And we also had missed Connecticut and Rhode Island. And we got that fixed. But there's a little touches that can be fixed, you know, like that little bit of triangle between, Maryland and West Virginia is a little janky. The line here for the 4 corners got a little diagonal, but it's all good, man. It's all good. This isn't meant to be, to scale. It's not meant to be super accurate. It's more meant to be just, my history, my adventures as I go through life trying to get marijuana legalized and speak to as many people as possible. The other fun thing is I have all these moles on my back, so it's going to be interesting to figure out which cities the moles are in. Like I got a mole right here around, Lewiston, Idaho. Got another mole just off the coast of Cape Cod. Few moles right there in, what would that be? Colorado, eastern Colorado and northern Kansas. We'll have to figure out what those are. There's one off the coast of Florida and one just south of Brownsville, Texas. Another one that would be somewhere like in Baja, California, I think. But anyway, there's the map. There's the new tattoo. Big thanks to Thomas and everyone out there at the Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo. They were tattoo artists that were featured on Spike TV and another show, and I can't remember which one it was. But anyway, well-known tattoo artists out there in Fort Worth, and big thanks for that. Some folks were asking if I was going to get it colored in, if I was going to color in the legalization states. I might. I might color in the states as they become legal, but I'm not going to color in the states for medical. Just because medical seems to be in flux and changing and, it could get repealed even. You never know, right? So we may just hold the coloring just for the legalized states. I still don't know about that. I also had some people asking, what about Alaska? Where's Alaska? Where's Hawaii? Well, we'll get Alaska and Hawaii on there. Alaska's probably going to go up on my left shoulder, and Hawaii probably around my left rib cage. If I make my way out to England, out to Europe, we'll put Europe on my right shoulder, and we'll get this all taken care of. So just a little fun getting some ink. And was it painful? It had to be painful. That was another thing people were saying. Well, yeah. Yeah, it's a little painful. I have the aid of all sorts of natural pain relievers to deal with that. But yeah, it's a little painful. I got to tell you, the states that were most painful, the New England seaboard, all them little tiny states with curvy lines. Oh, that's painful. Texas was painful just because it's one big long line that has to be done all at once. And in probably, a fit of irony, Idaho was kind of a painful state as well. It was a great time though. And, thanks again, like I said, to Sean McAllister, Andrea Brown, all the folks at DFW NORML who had me out there for the second year in a row for the conference, third year in a row if we count the Global Marijuana March that I went to the 1 year. If you are in or around Texas, you've got to come to the next Texas Regional NORML Conference, and they mean regional. So if you're in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, you can make your way out there and attend the conference and have a whole lot to learn. All right, when we come back, we're going to have time to go off the warpath. This is the segment we've been doing where I take a look at stories that don't have to do with marijuana. And today we're going to take a look at school shootings. One just happened a few miles east of me. Stay tuned. It's the Russ Belville Show.
Elitist. Just like any other dishwashing, burger-flipping, public school-educated, self-employed, bar band, musician, National Guardsman, he's Radical Russ.
You can get 420 Radio on the go with our Shoutcast stream for all internet-enabled media players. Go to rad-r.us/420shout or just click the Shoutcast icon below the live radio feed at 420radio.org. The Marijuana Business Association, or MJBA, are proud sponsors of the Russ Belville Show. It is the mission of the MJBA to establish integrity and legitimacy, create common market standards, provide market intelligence, and develop best ethical business practices for participants in the emerging legal marijuana industry, including commercial hemp, medical marijuana, and recreational marijuana for adults. Learn more about the Marijuana Business Association and visit mjba.net to join today. That's mjba.net. Big Daddy Fink's Funky Roller Rink every Thursday at 5 and 8 Pacific, with replays at 10 o'clock Friday nights on 420radio.org. The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, treat law enforcement with respect and stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all of my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak with my attorney." Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215 or on the web at...
I will travel where no man has dared to go. Into the black hole. Why, that's crazy.
If you fall in, you never come out. Stretching you from head to toe. Death by black hole.
There are monsters out in the cosmos.
Welcome back, everybody. That's Symphony of Science with Monsters of the Cosmos. Opening clip from Disney's movie The Black Hole, which Neil deGrasse Tyson recently told TMZ was the worst science movie ever. The worst abuse of scientific principles, the worst lack of understanding science of any movie about black holes or science fiction in general. So he had a whole lot to say about it. Wasn't too happy. He despised the movie The Black Hole. I think was something that he had was his final thoughts on that. Anyway, welcome back. It's Toker Talk Radio, and we're going to take the moment here to go off the warpath. And we still don't have any decent sound for that. But we're going to go off the warpath here because, once again, for the fourth time this week, there's been a random spraying of bullets at public people. And another shooting, this time in Troutdale, Oregon, at a high school that's just, I guess it's about 9 miles away from me or so. 3 kids involved in this one, apparently, that had planned and conspired to do awful, terrible things. I don't know what the data is on it as far as how many people wounded, how many people killed. That's still coming in to our local news stations. Of course, we had the shootings before. We had the Las Vegas couple who were big fans of the Clive Bundy ranch situation. Big fans of all of that who, draped Gadsden flags on 2 cops that they shot in the back of the head at point blank range. Saying it's going to be the beginning of the revolution to end tyranny and all of that kind of stuff. So I want to talk a little bit about guns. Because I was just in Texas, okay? Now, to say that the Texans like their guns is just a little bit of an understatement. And, in fact, there was some controversy with, some of the members of the NORML chapter there who are also, strong libertarians who are part of this open carry Texas movement. You heard about this? Open carry, where these guys sling long rifles on their back, whatever type of weapon, the assault weapons, the clips, all that kind of stuff. Strap it on their back, live ammo, and take it into a Denny's or a restaurant just to show they can, right? And we've gone rounds on this before about this topic, so I don't want to go too deep into this, except to discuss the way we discuss this topic, right? Because I think one thing that's happening is, on both sides, that from their framing, from their point of view, each side is claiming a superior moral position. Now, on the Texas side, on the gun-loving side, on the gun rights side, you have these people who are aficionados of firearms, who live in a wide-open state, who love shooting the shit out of stuff. Hell, I'm one of these guys, man. I'm from Idaho. I got uncles with plenty of guns, and we go out and shoot cans with them out in the wilderness and whatever, right? And those folks have this fear deep, deep inside that someone's coming to take those guns. They're coming to get our guns. I was hanging out with a guy who was wearing a T-shirt, a guy named Chris, all weekend. I wasn't wearing the T-shirt all weekend, but I was hanging out with him all weekend, and he's wearing this T-shirt. It was a muscle shirt, actually, right? Sleeves cut off, right? And it had arrows pointing to his biceps. And the words on the T-shirt were something like, Obama can't take these guns. Now, I fail to remember when President Obama made any announcement of his intention to come and take people's firearms. But that's an articulable fear among gun supporters. This belief that any minute now, the federal government is coming to take their guns. And the other imminent fear, propelling some of their points of view, is that there's imminent chaos just around the corner. There's going to be a breakdown in society. There's going to be imminent chaos. And there's going to be looting and rioting. And if I don't have my arsenal of 8 or 9 guns that can fire 30 rounds without needing reloaded, that I'm going to succumb to this overwhelming horde that's going to be coming after my food and my family. Right? So there's the fear of the tyranny, right? The fear that this government is going to come and get the guns and install tyranny. The second fear is that, there's imminent social collapse on the way. Some folks even delve into that racist side. There's a race war coming, right? But I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to say imminent social collapse on its way. The zombie apocalypse, if you will. And a third part to this, which is this cowboy fantasy notion of the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Of course, the good guy being the person talking. I'm the good guy with the gun who would shoot the guy who comes into the theater. And all of these are fears, and there is a reasonable basis to some of it. Like, there's a reasonable basis to the fear that, like, if you were in Ruby's restaurant and the guy was coming in with his gun and you didn't have your gun and it was sitting outside in your car because the restaurant wouldn't let you bring the gun in, and you're thinking, oh my God, if I had my gun here, I could turn and shoot and kill that guy. But now I'm a victim. Now I'm helpless. It's this fear of impotence, this fear of helplessness that propels a lot of this, right? So trying to have a discussion about this can be very difficult when the other side's points are based entirely on worst case scenario fear. Now, on the other side, when we talk about folks on the side that wishes that maybe we shouldn't have indiscriminate mass shootings of bullets every day, you know, and this, I guess that's what frustrates me about this too, right? Is the gun side that is basing their arguments on these ultimate worst case scenarios that have not happened in America, right? Yes, we've had riots. We've had, you know, the Los Angeles riots. Yes, we had that, right? How long did that last? Not long. Why? Because we had police that were able to suppress it. But anyway, we haven't had, you know, massive breakdown in civilization or society structure, right? We haven't had the coming race riot war. We haven't had, you know, we haven't had our tyrannical government coming door to door to take our guns. And yet we want to base our policy on those way improbable worst case scenarios. On the other hand, on the other side, what we're talking about over here on the left coast, and by we, I mean the people who are wanting some sort of change to this, is something that's becoming commonplace. It's something that has become so commonplace that when I see a tweet that says, oh no, terrible news about the latest school shooting, I don't know which one they're talking about anymore. Where latest isn't even a good adjective to describe a school shooting anymore. And so, while one side is basing things on the fear of long, distant, almost impossible worst-case scenarios, the other side is basing it on real-world life, real-life scenarios where kids and innocent people are shot on a daily basis. So, I know I can't change anyone's mind here. And I have a lot of friends in Texas who we are 100% with each other on the marijuana issue, who probably now are listening to me and think I'm some sort of terrible, as Kinky Friedman would say it, thin sock wearing Yankee, right? And I'm not. I like guns. I enjoy guns. I was in the military. I fired lots of guns, and I don't want to take any gun away from any person that I met. But it says something when the proposal is expanded background checks to make sure the mentally ill or deranged can't get a hold of a weapon, and someone thinks that might prevent them from getting a weapon. Are you afraid that you're mentally ill or deranged for some reason? And this idea that we should have as open a policy on guns as possible, as easy to get them as possible, so that, you know, that it's better for a gun aficionado to not have a hassle than for a crazy person to be able to get them easily, right? Couldn't we put up with a little more hassle as law-abiding citizens? You know, actually have some laws to abide. And, you know, like having background checks for everyone instead of the, you know, families can sell them to each other, or the gun show loophole where 40% of the guns are purchased through, you know, these unregulated things. And I wish we could get away from the tropes too. Well, preventing drugs doesn't stop anything. Yeah, but drugs aren't manufactured to indiscriminately kill multiple people at a distance. Well, what are you going to do to next? Ban knives? Tell me the last time there was a mass stabbing, where there was a mass stabbing of someone going around and stabbing multiple people at a distance. Right? I'm tired of the trope arguments too. Can we all just at least agree to one thing? Just one thing. If America could agree to this one thing, we could get a discussion going. One thing. Indiscriminate spraying of bullets in public places by crazy people should be reduced. Can we all agree to that? Indiscriminate, and don't give me the, oh, well, we should arm everyone else, as if we would all be able to tell in the crossfire which one of us is the bad guy with the gun and which ones are the good guys. All right. That's probably all I talk about that, because all it does is pisses people off. And we're not about that here. We're about weed. We're about 420 and having some fun and changing the laws with respect to marijuana. But we have all sorts of other viewpoints as well. And it's good that we all get to know each other, I think. Anyway, when we come back, some daily Toker tunes for Electric Tuesday. Stick around. It's 420 Radio.
You can get 420 Radio on the go with the TuneIn Radio app for all mobile platforms. Go to rad-r.us/420tunein or just click the TuneIn Radio icon below the live radio feed on 420radio.org. Adam Hand of Handmade Apparel produces quality custom designs for t-shirts, hats, and other apparel. Handmade Apparel is the official design shop for 420 Radio among many clients who rely on Adam Hand for everything from short-run custom projects to full-run clothing lines. Visit handmadeapparel.biz to browse the selection of handmade gear or to get a personal quote for your own designs. Handmade Apparel, a proud supporter of 420. Growing plants indoors can be a rewarding hobby, but electricity bills can go through the roof. Then you have to cool down all those big hot lights. It can drive a grower insane. With Lush LED lighting, you can solve many of these issues and double your rewards. Matt and his scientists have developed the perfect light for flowering plants with far less cost and heat. And the results? Very effective. Check out lushledlighting.com right now and tell them Radical Russ sent you.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Electric Tuesday, featuring the latest in electronic dance music and other cutting-edge genres. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tune.
All right, welcome back. Time for Daily Toker Tunes, Electric Tuesday, and that means we get on the phone to Arizona with Electric Bob, who's hanging out there in the land of the sun. How you doing, Electric Bob?
I'm doing good. It is hot as heck outside.
You in triple digits yet?
Yeah, it's 107 right now or something like that.
107? That's a balmy, breezy day, man.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Wait till July and August, right?
Exactly. It'll probably be 120, maybe 150. Who knows? It's Arizona.
150. You're just going to melt right away, man.
We will. I'll look like the witch from the Wizard of Oz.
Well, we don't want to have that happen for sure. All right, let's talk about today's tune and also Electric Bob's Boogaloo, our show tonight, a special dedication, I understand.
Yeah, it's. I remember Grey Wolf said he really liked that mix, so I'm putting it up for him and. Kind of feel bad. We're gonna miss the guy, and I just wanted to let everyone know I'm trying to. I talked to Adam Hand about making some tribute pins, some like hat pins.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to get on that, check out Wolf's Facebook page, and you guys can get all the info of that if you guys want to get one. And I'm looking for an artist to like drop a picture of him or something like that because I'm not really that great of an artist.
All right. Well, we'll look to that, and big thanks to Adam Hand. I know there's a GoFundMe link for Grey Wolf for cremation, end-of-life expenses, and last I saw it was halfway up to its $2,000 goal. So somebody, I believe, posted the link in the chat room earlier. If you could post that link again, it would be great. We will be missing Grey Wolf. He was such a fixture on our boards here. And every time I went to Denver, he was a volunteer for whatever event I was doing there in Denver. He always helped out as much as he could. He gave me a place to do a show, one episode, as a matter of fact, and got a pretty high-profile guest out there to interview as well. So his donations helped make 420 Radio and the Russ Belville Show what it is today. We'll never forget him, and we'll keep fighting on for him, man. We'll keep fighting on.
Exactly, and the song I got right now, it's actually a local DJ. He's went big now, but it's like it's a mashup tune. It's It's an old Pink Floyd song mashed up with a bunch of stuff. It's really, really good.
All right, well, let's get to it. This is, what's the name of the group?
Z-Trip. It's just, he's a local DJ from Phoenix.
All right, Z-Trip with Dedicated Not Just To. Thanks, Bob. We'll talk to you next week.
You can get 420 Radio on the go with the Ustream video app for Android and iPhone. Go to rad-r.us/420Ustream or just click the Ustream app icon for Android or iPhone below the live radio feed at 420radio.org. When you are starting up a medical cannabis business, you want a fired-up lawyer who understands the needs of cannabis consumers. The law office of Lauren Vasquez is your fired-up lawyer for the cannabis industry. Visit her website, fireduplawyer.com, or call 1-855-MMJ-LAWS for more information. That's 855-665-5297 for Lauren Vasquez, your fired-up lawyer. or email fireduplawyer@gmail.com. Free weed from Danny Danko, replaying Wednesdays at 1 Pacific on 420radio.org.
You know Herb Thrasher from the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. Now get ready for Herb Age Designs for the proud cannabis consumer. Herb Age Designs, lifestyle gear for the 420 friendly. Herb Age Designs, we've got Frisbee golf discs and durable hemp gear. Herb Age Designs, we've got shot glasses, drinking glasses, coffee mugs, and beer cozies. Check us out on Facebook and online at herbagedesigns.com. And follow Herb Age and Herb Thrasher on Twitter.
Well, you've kept me down my whole life through, but you've kept the earth spherical too. Well, I could just fly to the moon.
Welcome back. That's music from Terra Lumina on this Tuesday with A Beautiful Thing. And now we move on to me at the Texas Regional NORML Conference. Enjoy.
It is Saturday, June 7th, 2014, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. I'm Radical Russ Belville from 420 Radio. How y'all doing? I got to make sure everyone's awake. I did this last year. I got to make sure you're all awake. So let's do our little quick test. Are you ready? The stars at night are big and bright. Deep in the heart of Texas. All right. Timing we can work on, but that's great, you guys. Thank you. That's right. What's the words again? So I'm here today to deliver a talk that I like to call Re-Legalize Marijuana in the United States. Re-legalize marijuana. It's been legal. We're going to re-legalize it because it's our patriotic duty. And to start this discussion, I just want to say right off the bat that I apologize. I apologize to everyone that I've ever talked to marijuana about for the past 5 years because I thought I knew what I was talking about. I really did. I thought, end marijuana prohibition, raise some tax money, treat some patients, grow some hemp. I really thought that was what it was all about. And then on April 17th, 7 miles across the Utah border, I got a free ride in a cop car. And we're on our way to the Cannabis Cup. My assistant happened to have stuff on him, and I got charged with a possession of marijuana and possession of paraphernalia. He got charged with possession of marijuana and possession of 5 paraphernalias. 8.5 hours later, after sitting on the side of the road watching cops go through all of my stuff in the back of the trunk, 8.5 hours later after being booked and fingerprinted, 8.5 hours later after sitting in a cage, I started to realize what this is really all about. $5,000 in bail later, I really learned what it was all about. Yep. And what this is all about, folks, is freedom. It's about freedom. And today, I want to talk about being a marijuana activist, because sometimes, especially if you're fresh or new to this, it can be intimidating. It can be a lot of pressure on you, especially in a place like Texas. Where pot legalizing. Why don't you do something important? Why don't you do something mean to some pot? You just want to get high. If I want to get high, I'd go outside and get high. We're getting high now. It's not about getting high, we're getting high. This is about freedom, and it's about our civil rights. So we're going to talk a little bit today about civil rights. Now, a lot of people, when you think civil rights, you think Civil Rights Act of 1964. You think about, equal rights for black people, equal rights for women, equal rights for gay people are starting to, be developed in this country. But those are kind of immutable, inherent characteristics that we think of. You can't help being black, right? You can't help it. It came out this way. But we also protect people for their choices, and we protect people for their ideologies. Under the Civil Rights Act, it's illegal to discriminate against a woman who's pregnant. Or we also have that right to choose, the abortion rights argument. So, am I to understand we have a right to do with our bodies what we choose? Is that the way that works out? Ethnic background and national origin. You can't discriminate against someone for belonging to a particular group or having a particular ethnic background. So you're telling me that you can't discriminate against a people with a common culture? Is that what that means? And then religious beliefs. Right? Sometimes they'll say, well, you know, pot smoking is a lot like being black or gay because you choose to smoke pot. Well, yeah, sure, you choose to be Catholic or Mormon too. And you can't discriminate against that. So we can't discriminate against how we choose to believe and worship. Then how does that not apply to us? It's pretty simple, folks. These are our rights we're talking about, our freedom, the meaning of being an American. They think they're banning a harmful plant. I think they're oppressing a harmless people. That's what's going on. Our founders grew hemp. Our founders wrote the Declaration and the Constitution on drafts of hemp paper. The actual ones are on parchment, by the way. It's just the draft versions were on hemp, but still. Right? So they were well aware of hemp. It was part of our culture. It was part of how we came to be America. Why would these guys stop to think people have a right to grow crops? They'll be like, people have a right to breathe air and go to the bathroom. I mean, it's so obvious. Why would a bunch of 18th century farmers think to write that down? But I've got to think they would have thought it was a right. Marijuana prohibition subverts more of our natural and constitutional rights than any policy since slavery. And I'm going to show you how. Let's start with our First Amendment, right? First Amendment is pretty easy. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Well, unless you're a Rastafarian. Then the problem is your sacrament is too popular. That's exactly what it is. There's been some decisions that have said that Native Americans and Brazilian Indians can access peyote, ayahuasca, these very powerful hallucinogens that are in Schedule I, just like marijuana. And the courts have said, yeah, that's cool because so few people use those drugs, and we can kind of tell who they are, right? They're natives, we can identify them readily. But marijuana, why, if we made that a religious right, suddenly there'd be 26 million religious people. And they know they don't want to do that. So basically they're saying, sorry, your God picked a sacrament that's too popular and has the least harm. If he'd have picked something a little more harmful, maybe we could let you have that. You know, like alcohol and Catholics with their wine that they give to kids as young as 7 years old. Or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. Unless you're in Colorado or Washington and want to advertise your legal pot shop, and then there's all sorts of restrictions on your freedom of press and speech. Or the right of the people peaceably to assemble, unless they're smoking pot where people can see them, unless it's Fort Worth on the March Day, apparently. And to petition the government for a redress of grievances, unless you live in a non-initiative state, which there's 26 of those, you can't do your own direct initiatives. And of course, there is no such thing as a federal initiative. So we have the right to petition our government, and they have the right to ignore it. Oh, we're in Texas. We gotta love this one, right? The Second Amendment. Woo! A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. Don't worry about that. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed unless you're a registered medical marijuana patient. According to the Gun Control Act of 1968, guns and ammo may not be sold to any known drug abuser. If they see your medical marijuana card, you're a known drug abuser under federal law. You don't get a gun. And even if you're not a medical marijuana patient and you're keeping a lawful firearm in your home and you're busted for having a plant or having some weed, you get all sorts of extra penalties tacked on for having that firearm in the commission of a felony. Funny how the NRA is never talking about that, isn't it? You'd think if they were supporting the rights of people in their Second Amendment that maybe they'd think putting people on a government list for medical marijuana takes away their gun. That's like the nightmare scenario of the NRA, isn't it? A government list to take away your gun. And that's exactly what a medical marijuana list is. The Third Amendment. Now this one a lot of people don't know, the Third Amendment. It doesn't really come up much. No soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. This is the problem because, you know, the British would bring in their soldiers and tell, you know, Joe Blow, hey, you got to put up 6 soldiers and give them a bunk and feed them. So it doesn't really apply these days so much, but there was a case called Griswold v. Connecticut, came under the Supreme Court. And this was a case about birth control, whether or not people had the right to use birth control. And part of determining that court case was to determine, does the Constitution grant us a right to privacy? It's not explicit in the Constitution, you shall have the right to privacy, but they found that under the First, the Third, the Fourth, the Fifth, the Eighth, the Ninth, and a couple of other amendments, there was this penumbra, they call it a penumbra of rights. And basically they said, well, the Third Amendment, since they're talking about your home, it was about keeping the privacy of your home, and so we ought to have that privacy. And Justice Douglas, deciding that case, decided that the Third Amendment was part of our right to privacy. Except now, in another recent court case, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and it hasn't been heard by the Supreme Court as far as I'm aware, said cops can secretly place a GPS device on your car, on your property, without your knowledge, without a warrant. This is the case of a guy named Juan Pineda Morales in Oregon in 2007. They were staking out a grow shop, hydroponic shop. Found this guy driving his Jeep there, picking up a whole bunch of soil and lights and stuff. Picked up his license plate, followed him to where he was back home. He parked his car in his driveway. At night, they came in and put a GPS on his car. Tracked everywhere he went. See, I think the Third Amendment was all about, a soldier in your house. That's like having an officer of the state watching and transcribing everything you do. That's what a GPS is. Watching and transcribing everything you do, everywhere you go, everyone you visit. And that's legal in this country. Fourth Amendment, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, except they can take your pee. They can take your pee in these cases. They can take your blood. They can search your house if they smell pot and hear furtive movements. This was a case where the cops were called to go find, it was like a warrant to go get this drug guy in an apartment complex, and they went up to the second, third floor, whatever it was. The door they were going to go to was there, but they smelled some pot coming from over there. So they came over and they knocked. Police, we'd like to talk to you. And they heard a guy scurrying around in the background and burst in because they figured he's trying to get rid of the evidence, which was always funny to me because we had enough pot to be really worth busting the door down. It's not like you could flush it. It's not cocaine, right? It's stop up the toilet. But their reasoning is, hey, those furtive movements might be trying to destroy evidence. And the Supreme Court said, yeah, you're right. If you think there's pot in there because you smelled something and you hear somebody running around in there, that's enough reason to bust down your door and take you away. And of course, we know about Edward Snowden and the NSA spying, where they're listening to all our phone calls and tracking all our email and mobile data. So much for the Fourth Amendment. And by the way, a lot of the powers they have to do that came under the USA Patriot Act, which was originally designed, of course, to stop terrorism after 9/11. Patriot Act searches have been used against terrorism in 15 cases and against drugs in 1,500. Who's the terrorist, right? Another part of the Fourth Amendment says, no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons and things to be seized. Except that probable cause lately is profiling. That probable cause is, oh, you're a black kid in Harlem. That probable cause, oh, you're a white guy with dreadlocks. That probable cause, oh, you got a NORML sticker on your car. My bust in Utah was because we had Oregon plates and my assistant had 4-foot-long redhead dreadlocks. Now, they said the probable cause was our window tint. Because you know when you're driving down the Utah freeway at 80 miles an hour, the cop sitting across the other side of the road can tell a 12-degree change in window tint shade as it drives by. That was his probable cause. And about this warrants and describing the place to be searched and the persons to be seized, I have so many stories that I've gone over where doors have been busted down in innocent people's homes because the cops messed up the address or got the wrong person on the warrant. And sometimes those people are killed. Catherine Johnston in Georgia, 92-year-old woman. Here's the cops. She's in a bad neighborhood. Cops are bursting down her door. She's got a gun to protect herself. She fires off. They fire and kill her. And then after they've killed her, tried to plant some weed next to her so they could justify it. 92-year-old woman. Fifth Amendment. No person, and there's a bunch of in the Fifth Amendment, I chopped some of it out. But no person shall be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb. That's the double jeopardy thing. You can't try it twice for the same thing, except multiple charges for the same crime, like conspiracy plus intent to deliver. You're only doing one thing, but they find 2 crimes to charge you with. And another example of that, too, in California, one of the DAs down in San Diego, I believe it was, charged this guy who's running a dispensary, so they set up a sting where a cop using a fake ID, but really from the state, so there's no way you could tell it's a fake ID, right? It's a real ID with a fake name. Cop with a real ID with a fake name goes to a doctor, lies about a condition, gets a recommendation from a doctor that's perfectly valid, takes it to the dispensary, deals with them with marijuana. They use that to bust him for a trafficking charge or for a distribution charge. Goes to court, a jury of his peers find him innocent. So that DA set up the same sting again with another cop and farmed it off to another jurisdiction where she could get a jury that would convict the guy. So no double jeopardy, really, because it was 2 different crimes, but it was the same exact thing, right? The same exact action that a jury had already found him innocent. It's just sad. And self-incrimination. You shall not be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against yourself, except drug tests. What is that but you incriminating yourself of being a drug user? The Fifth Amendment also says that we shall not be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Except when it's the proceeds of illegal drug activity and they use civil asset forfeiture to take your home, take your car, take your money, charge it with a crime, it's guilty until proven innocent, and you don't even have to be charged with a crime for them to do this. Numerous innocent people have lost thousands and thousands of dollars because of this. A guy, I just did a story last week, driving back, he owns bingo parlors, right? So he's driving back with his bingo cash, like $15,000 I think it was. Cops pull him over, take his 15 grand. Now he's got to spend money to hire a lawyer, and forfeiture lawyers are expensive. Got to hire a lawyer to get that $15,000 back, and then how's he supposed to pay him? That's his money. You have to hire a lawyer with the money that they took from you. It makes it so hard that some people don't even bother to try to get their stuff back. The average amount forfeited in the United States through civil asset forfeiture is $1,250. They do that on purpose because they know that's enough they can make some money, but not so much that you're going to spend money on a lawyer to get it back. I mean, that's 2 hours of lawyer time right there. It's never going to get your money back. So they've got this scheme worked out pretty well. Sixth Amendment. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial. Everybody heard of Roger Christie? Runs the THC ministry out of Hawaii. Was charged with major distribution and felonies. Sat in jail for over 3 years. Just now, finally got his trial. Speedy trial. 3.5 years the guy was sitting there waiting for his trial. 3.5 years. And to be informed of the nature and cause of accusations, to be confronted with the witnesses against him. How do you confront a drug dog? A drug dog is brought in as a witness against you. This is a witness who claimed it could smell drugs in your car. How do you confront that dog? Your Honor, please ask the witness to respond in English. You can't. And you have the compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in your favor and to have the assistance of counsel, a lawyer, for your defense. Except if you're involved with medical marijuana, you and your lawyer cannot say medical marijuana. A friend of mine was convicted yesterday in Idaho court. Multiple counts, charges related to running a dispensary in Ontario, Oregon. And not once during his trial was he ever allowed to say, I was running a medical marijuana dispensary under Oregon medical marijuana law, serving Oregon patients who were all certified to use it. Can't mention that at all. Because in federal court, when it comes to marijuana, they only want some of the truth, a little of the truth, and the truth they want you to tell. Not the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Seventh Amendment. In suits at common law, this is the lawsuit amendment where you can sue people, right? In suits at common law where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved. unless you want to sue your grower or your dealer for ripping you off. You don't have that right. Any other market, any other commodity out there being bought, sold, or traded, if someone does you wrong, you can sue them. But not marijuana. That's why we solve our problems with guns. In Mexico and sometimes up here too. And no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of common law. And again, except when the prosecutor in California comes up with 2 different stings to go jury shopping. 8th Amendment. Excessive bail shall not be required. My one charge of marijuana paraphernalia and possession, $1,166 in bail. My buddy's charge, one possession, 5 paraphernalias, $3,707 bail. Cost me $5,000 to get us out of jail for a quantity of marijuana that was less than 10 grams.
Huh.
Yeah, excessive bail. Nor shall excessive fines be imposed. The federal fine for growing 1 plant is $250,000. Nor cruel or unusual punishments inflicted unless you're a medical marijuana patient, then they put you in jail and deny you your life-saving medicine and you die in a cell. And I've told that story far too many times. 9th Amendment. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. I call this the "we can't write them all down" amendment. Right? Again, you have the right to breathe air. You have the right to a tasty dinner. You have the right to watch sunsets. Right? They couldn't write them all down. So how could a group of hemp farmers in an agrarian society that paid their taxes with hemp not think that was a right? They didn't write it down because it would have been ludicrous to them to even suggest you'd ban hemp farming. That they do today. 10th Amendment. People know this is the States' Rights Amendment. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution or prohibited to it by the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Well, nowhere in the Constitution does it say that the federal government has the right to regulate medicine, and nowhere in the Constitution does it say the states don't have the right to regulate medicine, and yet the feds are stopping 22 states and Washington, D.C. now from regulating medicine. And that's just the first 10. That's just the Bill of Rights. There's a whole bunch of other rights that are contained in the other 18 amendments, 6 of them as a matter of fact, that also are affected by marijuana prohibition. The 13th Amendment, no slavery or involuntary servitude. Unless you're busted for weed and we throw you in prison and we make you work for 17 cents an hour for JCPenney or for Delta Airlines or any of these companies that make a killing on cheap prison labor. We put these people in prison, we give them a job working for Greyhound Bus booking tickets. They make 17 cents an hour, and then if they want to make a phone call to their lawyer, it costs $5 a minute. I do the math in your head, 17 cents an hour, how many hours you'd have to work before you could call your lawyer for 3 minutes? The 14th Amendment, the Equal Protection Amendment, that's the one that says, you have a right in this state. Well, if you go to another state, you have that right too. The states have to respect each other, respect the rights, unless you're a medical marijuana patient. If I leave Oregon as a patient and I go into Idaho, I'm a criminal. I'm certainly a criminal in Utah. So, 15th Amendment, that was the one that said you can't deny voting rights on the basis of race or previous slavery, previously being a slave, right? Except right now, in numerous states, if you're convicted of a felony, you lose your right to vote, either for a certain length of time, or in the case of 3 states, I believe it's Tennessee, Kentucky, and Florida, you lose your right to vote forever. Because of this, and thanks to the fact in Florida that 21 grams of marijuana is a felony, 21 grams is a little over 3/4 ounce, is a felony in Florida. Because of that, over 1 in 5 black men and black people in Florida can't vote for the rest of their life. It's actually 23.3%. So yeah, we're not denying their right to vote because they're black, but we are over-patrolling black neighborhoods, arresting them for weed, and then giving them felonies so they can't vote. So we kind of found a way around that one, right? 16th Amendment, that's the income tax amendment. It says it's, the government can collect income tax. And that's one of the primary weapons they're using now against medical marijuana dispensaries. this code, part of the IRS tax code called 280E, that says drug dealers can't deduct their drug costs, right? And that would, you know, in the case of a dispensary, we're talking about employees and, you know, advertising and all that, you know, utilities, lights, all the typical stuff you deduct as a business. These guys can't deduct. 19th Amendment, women's right to vote. Kind of like the black one about voting, right? We haven't done it directly, but because of the drug war, incarceration of females in this country has gone up 646% since 1980. 646%. And in the case of African American women, it's 888% that it's gone up since 1980 because of the drug war. 21st Amendment, the repeal of prohibition. Remember the repeal of alcohol prohibition? Well, that amendment actually has the word intoxication in it. Intoxicating liquors. In my mind, that tells me that as a country in our Constitution, we've somewhat recognized this right to intoxication, this ability to intoxicate ourselves. And didn't we learn our lesson from history? Didn't we learn the first time prohibition doesn't work? No. It's not working today either. So never be ashamed or afraid to admit that you're a marijuana legalizer. Be proud of that. You are the civil rights activists of the 21st century. This is about civil rights, and I hope what I've just shown you there kind of convinces you that, yeah, this is affecting more than just, you know, whether or not I'm being busted getting high. This is endemic to our entire way of life in America. This is a robbery, a theft of our heritage. Marijuana is part of our heritage as Americans. The first hemp was planted in the Jamestown colony in 1611. Over 400 years, Americans have grown hemp. Dr. O'Shaughnessy went to India. He's a British surgeon. He went to India in the mid-1800s. He rediscovered how they were using cannabis in what they call bhang, B-H-A-N-G, bhang, this drink that they make made of cannabis, and he discovered the medical properties of it, brought it back to Britain, reinvigorated this interest in cannabis as medicine. Queen Victoria was taking it for her menstrual cramps, and O'Shaughnessy brought that information to the United States as well around 1850. And by 1890, cannabis was the second most popular ingredient in medicine after opium, like laudanum and that kind of stuff, right? So the American people, our grandfathers, our great-grandfathers and grandmothers used cannabis as medicine. They got it in these bottles, you know, these little tincture bottles. I have a friend that collects these things, and it's a very popular medicine. And even recreational pot smoking, while it kind of came into America in the 1900s with the wave of Mexicans and migrants that really became popularized around 1920 when all the jazz musicians like Louis Armstrong and Cab Calloway were singing about the reefer man and talking about gauge and getting high. So we've got a culture. We are a culture that goes back now almost a century. So don't let them tell you that, oh, you're just trying to get high. No, man, I'm fighting for our civil rights. I'm fighting for our hemp heritage, and I'm fighting for freedom. And one of the things I really love about the marijuana movement and the issue of legalization is it speaks to every demographic. I went back out there to the room out there. There's Green Party and Libertarians. It's like, otherwise politically on opposite ends of the spectrum, but on this issue they come together. And in so many ways, marijuana is an issue that can bring people together. And as activists, if you can find that little key that unlocks a person's interest, whether it's a mom who's got a sick kid, you can go to the medical route. Whether it's a libertarian who believes in freedom in every other respect, and you can convince them, hey, why doesn't that apply to marijuana? It's Democrats, you can get to Democrats with the civil rights angle. All of those statistics about the over-incarceration of African Americans and Latinos, the racial justice issue, the environmental issue. You can tell them about how illegal marijuana plantations denude our forests and they use up the water and they spoil the land. There's so many Democratic arguments, it's pretty easy. But even with Republicans, it's pretty easy. Hell, states' rights, I can't tell you how many times I've heard that out of Republicans. Well, let's start talking about states' rights, like California, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, Montana, all these states that have medical marijuana. Why don't we talk about those states' rights? Individualism, personal responsibility. end government waste, cut ineffective government programs. How is it that the Republican Party has not snatched this issue up, especially